Craig Counsell gets another 3-year contract extension. Done a great job. Led the
Basically
Brewers
a
to
hometown
back-to-back.
kid.
Exactly.
Which is really, this is a great story.
Yeah,
It really is.
Let's bring in Craig. We're pleased to have Craig join us on Hot Stove. Craig, congratulations here on your 3-year extension. And what is it like for you? I mean, to be a kid who basically grew up in Milwaukee, and you were the big league manager of that team, and you've also provided success for the fan base as well.
Yeah, it's definitely been a thrill and an honor. Like we were talking about earlier, I grew up in the clubhouse. My dad worked the team when I was a kid. So it was, the great Brewer teams of Yount and Molitor. So now to be have a leadership role with the team it's an honor. That's what it is. And you're trying to deliver something for the fans, and we feel like the last couple of years we've got to that point and want to keep doing it.
Craig, your favorite Brewer growing up, who was your guy?
I was probably a Molitor guy. I wish they could be Paul Molitor. I ended up probably the player that I was most like was probably Jim Gantner.
I wrote down Gantner's name right here. I pictured you as a Jim Gantner guy.
Yeah. Jim Gantner was he's 17 years as a Brewer, which is incredible. But just kind of a grinder and played second base and great second baseman.
So you come to this negotiation, they give you a 3-year extension, but you had to play serious poker face. They knew you grew up there. You were a Brewer through and out. How'd you get the money right?
Yeah, I think, this is the place I want to be. I'm raising a family here. And it's also, there's a little special meaning for me. But frankly, they've always respected that, I think. And that's how you get something done. That's why we've had a good working relationship, because we got healthy respect for each other.
All right, well, let's dive into the baseball here. So managing in Milwaukee is a little bit different than managing in New York or L.A. or San Francisco. And so the Brewers have been pretty active this offseason in both additions and subtractions. The complexion of your team, Craig, is going to look much different than what you saw here last year. So just give us your overall thoughts on kind of where the team is headed in 2020.
Yeah, look, we've had a lot of change, and from taking 2 playoff teams to the amount of change we had is somewhat, abnormal. But in our size market, it's also a reality. We just some of the contracts that our free agents got were incredible. They're awesome. We're thrilled for them, but we just couldn't. It just wasn't a smart decision for us to get involved in them. So we had to let some great players in Moustakas and Grandal and Drew Pomerantz, Jordan Lyles, get good contracts with other teams, and frankly replace them with guys that we think can be those guys. So that's what we've done, and I'm really excited with who we've brought aboard, with who we're going to go to battle with. I think we got a really good team. It's just a lot of different faces, and that's going to be the challenge this year, is to kind of put them all together and get them going in the right direction.
Hey, Ken Rosenthal's got a question for you, so buckle up, Craig. Buckle
all right,
up.
here's the tough one.
Craig, it's not going to be that tough. I'm just wondering how you see the infield, and with Urias coming over, how do you plan to kind of mix and match and do whatever you might do with that group?
Yeah, I think what we're going to do is, Kira's obviously locked in at second base, and Justin Smoke and Ryan Braun will man the duties at first base. The left side of the infield is a little more up in the air, and we're certainly going to give Urias every shot to prove he can play shortstop for us. That's why we traded for him. We also have Orlando Arcia, and then Eric Sogard, who's been a utility guy for most of his career, but really, if you look at the last 2 of his last 3 years, they've been really, really solid, outstanding years. Last year was his best year as a big leaguer, and we're going to count on him at third base for a lot of our third base time. And I still think there's some activity for us in that department, but as of now, it's some combination of those 3 guys on the left side of the infield.
Hey, you were talking about Ryan Braun playing first base, and at this point in time of his career, I think that might be exciting for him. Obviously, for those that don't know, he was a third baseman in college and shortstop as well. He's played in the infield before. How do you see him at first, and is Ryan excited about it?
Yeah, well, in 2018, we actually started the year with him playing some first. He actually started an open day at first base, and then Jesus Aguilar emerged, and we sent Ryan back to the outfield. But I think it's good for him as well. I think it's a little bit of a break for him, and he's excited about it. And the thing about Ryan is that he's been great about is he's been flexible. He understands that we have to do some different things to stay, at the top of our competitive window, and he understands this is part of it, and he's game for it.
Craig, you've done an outstanding job the last couple of years leading the ball club to great finishes in September. I think you're tied with the Astros over the last couple of years in terms of number of wins in September and October. There's obviously going to be a couple of different rule changes that will impact the way you manage in particular. And one of them is kind of the 40-man roster going away, and now it's going to be 28 players. And you've obviously done a great job of using those additional arms to help you get wins when it mattered the most in crunch time. How do you think that change is going to affect your philosophy late in the season?
Yeah, look, it's going to be different. You just don't have the depth that we've had and we've used, I think. So I guess the hope is that we don't have to, I hope is we get a little, we've been coming from behind the last couple of September. So my hope is that we have a little advantage this September, and that helps us. But that's, what I figure is that's 130 games away. And so hopefully something comes to us by then, or we've created a lead where we can be a little more cautious with some of our usage. So I hope we get ourselves in that spot and we have to make some tough decisions.
Hey, Craig, before we let you go, we were talking earlier about Larry Walker. He's on the ballot, and there's a good shot. Yeah. He may get in the Hall of Fame. I was telling them he is like on my Mount Rushmore guys that blew me away with talent. I mean, he was unbelievable. You spend enough time around him. Tell me what your thoughts on Larry Walker.
Yeah, it's funny. The question I always get is, who's the most talented player you've ever played with? And I will tell you my answer every time. It's Randy Johnson first, and then it's Larry Walker. Because that's for me, that's who it was. He just did everything in the game that really made you go, wow. I mean, there was nothing that he couldn't do. And everything, that the true, it's an old term now with five-tool player, but he was legitimately the best five-tool player I ever saw. I think people sometimes overemphasize that a guy can hit. This guy could really, really hit. My favorite ball he hit this line drive down the left field line, and most guys' balls have this little tail to it or fade. It would be dead straight. That's how good his bat path was.
Yeah.
So he was a special player.
He hit a ball. We were in the cage hitting one day in Colorado, and he hit a ball off the pitching machine that I could not believe anybody could hit a ball that hard. He was amazing. Anyway, I just wanted to get that in there.
Well, and before we let you go, Craig, let me ask you about, as we talk, great players in the Hall of Fame. You have one of the game's best right now in Christian Yelich. Just what is it like for you personally to manage Christian and for him to be the leader in your clubhouse?
Yeah, I think the thrill about just getting to watch a guy like Christian play every day is he makes you just go, wow, and he makes the other players go, wow, where he does stuff during the game that, like, great Major League players have their mouths wide open, like, how did you do that? And it's just cool to watch that, because it's not easy to, like, wow Major League players sometimes about talent level. And the great ones, like Yelich, Trout, and Cody Bellinger, they still do that to other Major League players.
That's really cool. Hey, Craig, congrats on the contract, man. I think it's amazing. You're home in Milwaukee, being able to lead this club and do all these things. So congrats, and we're looking forward to seeing you in the spring, buddy.
I appreciate it, guys. Have a great day.